No,
Siri.
Siri.
No,
No, Siri.
no, Siri.
I didn't call you. Go back to sleep.
Siri, how dare you interrupt us? How rude.
How rude.
Hello, welcome to Cinema Talk. This is the show where I talk to video producers online. I'm your host, Mike Mixtape, and today we have a special guest. We have Rebecca Parham. Thanks for coming by.
No problem. It's good to see you, Mike.
So this show is where I talk to these YouTubers and ask them personal questions relating somewhat to movies, sometimes not. So I awfully start off the show by asking the first question here. The first question I always ask is, what is your earliest memory when it comes to movies and or animation?
My earliest memory is in when I was a kid, like
Yes.
the earliest memory of my life.
Yep.
Well, there is old footage of me at my two-year-old birthday party. There's old footage of me getting Dumbo on VHS. So it is likely a Disney movie. Because, I mean, that time of my life, very, very blurry, very, very foggy. I know the general, videos and movies and TV shows that I grew up with, but I can't exactly remember the very first memory that I have. But it was likely a Disney movie, as far as movies go.
Yeah, I was the same way, actually, because it was, especially with Disney movies, my first memory, not the first memory, but like one of my birthdays, my mom and dad got me like the Lion King PC game, and I just freaked out because I was a huge fan of the Lion King. There's like video footage of me like, I love Lion King, oh my god!
I had the Lion King Sega game, and I still have my old Sega, and my sister and I popped in that Lion King video game, and in adulthood, we finally beat the game. But, it was the hardest Sega game ever.
It is. It's so hard. Oh, man. So, what was the movie that got you into animation overall?
I don't know if it was like a particular movie, but I will say, the first time I became aware that cartoons and animated movies didn't just magically appear out of thin air, and that there were actual like people, human beings making these movies behind the scenes, I was maybe about 4 or 5. And there was this like behind the scenes thing for Beauty and the Beast on like the 1991 Jungle Book VHS tape. Because you know how you can like watch old VHSs and they have these really outdated previews of movies to come and VHS releases to come.
Yeah.
And they had this like featurette behind the scenes thing of Beauty and the Beast that was coming out later that year. And it had people like Jeffrey Katzenberg and Glenn Keane and James Baxter, and they were just showing how these movies were made and showing the pencil tests and the voice actors recording stuff and making the music. And I'm sitting here as a kid and I'm just like, who are these old men? And now these people are like the people that I am in awe of as an animation professional. So I think that's where the initial interest was actually getting a peek behind the scenes to be shown essentially as a kid. These things are made by actual human beings, and that in itself just kind of fascinated me.
So what are your thoughts on the new Beauty and the Beast live action movie coming out this year?
I don't think it would be fair for me to like pass judgment on it. But I mean, like the first time they released that like profile shot of the Beast, I was a little disappointed because it kind of just looked like they had it like a normal human face proportions and just like stuck a whole bunch of fur makeup on just an average looking guy. And I'm like, but the fun of the Beast and his character design is that he has more animalistic proportions to his face, like his nose is down here and his eyes are wider apart. And, his mouth comes down here, and he looks like an animal, and yet you can see the human behind the eyes, and it's not all perfectly a human face. And I could talk to you all day long about what I think as far as, like, character design goes. But I'm trying to have an open mind with Beauty and the Beast, and all the live action remakes, it just, as far as remakes go, they don't impede you from enjoying the original and how the original affected you when you were a kid. So I just kind of take them as they go.
Yeah, because for me, it was The Jungle Book growing up, and then I saw The Jungle Book last year, and oh my gosh, I loved it. It was
That's
like
good.
it was
Awesome.
It was really cool. So I'm always hopeful for the Disney remakes.
Are not all disasters.
Yeah, not all of them are disasters. Ugh.
Right.
Ugh. How did you get into making your own animation?
Here's the funny thing. I actually never animated a single thing before I got to animation school. So I had no idea how to make the cartoon characters move. I knew how to draw them because before I got into animation school, I was drawing, I was painting, I was telling stories, and I was making comics and editing fan music videos together with a bootlegged version of Windows Movie Maker. So I was doing those creative things, but I just didn't know how to animate, So when I got to school, that's really the first time I ever started animating and the first time I ever started like doing my own thing. So it's never too late. Like, it really is never too late. But then again, it's never too early. So you don't have to wait to go to school to start animating anything. But that's just how it went with me, and I turned out all right, I'd say.
So it was like an animation college?
Yeah, it was. It was Ringling College of Art and Design, and it's considered by many to be the best computer animation school in America, arguably. A lot of people still say the best animation school is Cal Arts. But it has just been officially named the most expensive school in America. And so, it just kind of goes to show you that animation, it's not a poor man's game.
Oh man, so much money wasted. I mean, so much money being spent on it to going to college.
Yeah.
So who are your inspirations when it comes to animation?
Gosh, like I could sit here and just start naming people because you should always just take inspiration from everybody out there, whether they are like a professional at a big giant studio or if they're just an internet animator or whatnot. But just off the top of my head, like Randy Haycock, a Disney concept artist, Chris Sanders, Lilo and Stitch, Pete Docter, Up and Inside Out, Lauren Faust, My Little Pony, Powerpuff Girls, Craig McCracken, Powerpuff Girls, Foster Home for Imaginary Friends. But I think the one person that always comes to mind whenever someone asks me this is it has to be Glenn Keane. And I don't know how many people watching know who Glenn Keane is, but Glenn Keane is this Disney legend of an animator, and he is most famous for animating Ariel and the Beast in Beauty and the Beast and Tarzan and just all these amazing iconic characters. And what astonishes me is not just his work astonishes me, just the quality of his work. Because, there's nothing like a Glenn Keane drawing, trust me. Like, nothing more appealing than a Glenn Keane pencil drawing. But what also is so wonderful about him is if you ever get the chance to, like, hear him talk about animation, hear him, like, present at schools or whatnot, you can, like, find all these clips online about him and him presenting to people. He speaks so passionately about animation. He is so in love with his art form, and he finds beauty in everything. And that is the perspective that I most try to accomplish in my works. Like, everything has beauty in it. Just the simple fact that something exists is beautiful. And how humans come in all sorts of shapes and sizes and colors, and that should all be celebrated. And the way Glenn Keane talks about that is just so reflective of how I hope to just one day see everything, And he's just so kind, and he's so patient, and he's so willing to pass on his knowledge and so willing to mentor. And at the same time, he will turn around and say, okay, so what are you working on? What have you learned? What have you seen? Because that's the mark of a true master. A master is someone who will find knowledge anywhere and just try to absorb knowledge from anywhere, whether it's someone who he thinks is better than him or someone he is like mentoring as a student. he knows that you can get knowledge from anywhere, and it'd be silly to try and cut yourself off from someone because of pride, you know? So that's kind of the perspective that I love about Glenn Keane, not just his work, but just his general attitude. And he's a great spokesperson for animation. So that's my biggest inspiration right there.
Cool. Cool. You've made tons of videos so far, and out of all the videos you made, what is your favorite in particular? Like the process of making it and just doing it and
So I've said online, especially on Twitter before, that I wish I could animate at full capacity all the time. I wish I could just do my absolute best on every single video I put out there, but you maybe get a video a year. So I kind of have to pull back on technique, and I have to pull back on character design, and I can't, do 24 frames per second drawings. And I think like the videos that I do like are ones that get a little bit closer to what I know I can do. Like there are certain shots in Beef We, a Pokemon parody, that I'm just very, very proud of as far as technique is concerned. And I do love the zaniness of that one, and I just love the fact that I got to animate this monster Butterfree, because Butterfree's always been my favorite Pokemon. And people try to find like the hidden meaning, the hidden parody in that video. And I mean, yeah, you can like boil it down to, oh, it's your character, your really, really super talented, powerful character versus like just a random trainer that you meet in the game. That's the hidden message behind it. No. I just wanted to animate a monster Butterfree. That's pretty much it. But as far as my absolute favorite videos go, I love my VidCon recaps. I really, really do, because VidCon is just the highlight of my year every single year. I get to see my friends again. I get to meet all of these creators that I really admire, and I watch their stuff. And when they like remember my name and they remember who I am and they follow me online, and there's such a thrill in that. And I love being able to share all those amazing stories, and the fact that people actually came up to me last year. Like I had like 7 or 8 people who knew who I was, and oh my gosh, just the love I felt from my explainers and for the people around me. It's such an inspiring atmosphere. And I love coming back and immediately getting to work and pumping out that video that just kind of recaps and immortalizes these wonderful memories of VidCon. And it's great when the people who are actually in the video see the video. That's the best thing.
Yeah. There's so many to choose from. I mean, God, you make great videos. I mean, gosh darn. I mean, but that's the thing I always wonder. How do you get your art style? I know you try to limit it because you don't want to be all big budgeted kind of thing. You're trying to keep it low key. So is that where the art style came from? Like kind of keep it like simple designs?
It is a very reluctant simplicity, but I almost can't let a lot of the more complex aspects of it go. Like, if you see some animators online who have that very simplistic style down, and they do that same kind of storytelling format of me narrating a story from my life and with a very simplistic character to animate and take the audience through the story, I can't make myself do very flat TV style drawings, like where the shoulders are just, completely square to the audience, completely front facing, and you just kind of have these flat hand poses. And there's nothing wrong with that style. There absolutely nothing is, because so much entertainment on the television right now, wonderful entertainment like Gravity Falls and Steven Universe, utilize a more flattened style. There's nothing wrong with it. But me, I love a character that has dimension and depth and a roundness to them and a fleshiness to them. That's the type of animation that I want to do. That's what appeals to me when I look on the screen and I play my animation back and forth and it moves. That's what I like to see. So I think that a lot of that is my education in animation. My school days have taught me, you have to have some you have to have solid drawing, because that's one of the principles of animation is solid drawing. And that means, there has to be some weight and depth and mass to these characters. So I think that's what influences my style, as far as like the fact that my style is a little less flat than a lot of simplified characters are out there. I think that's what I think.
Mm. Yeah, I just thought it was unique. And because one of my friends on my podcast is Matt Bernay, also known as Animat, and I noticed in one of your videos you just put him in the audience in the Lost that Wonderland video. So like, that's Matt. That's Matt. What the heck? That's Matt. Because I know
I love cameos. Like, I am a shameless lover of cameos. I love putting anybody and everybody against their will into my videos. Like, can't get Markiplier for real? I'll put him in the background.
That's the best thing about the recaps is like the Markiplier love. It's just like, oh, I just missed him, but dang it, I'm gonna put him in there.
I think that's just gonna have to be my reoccurring gag when it comes to VidCon. Is like, I'm never officially gonna get to meet him. I'm always gonna see him leaving places and just not have the heart to say anything to him. One of these days that'll break the chain. Maybe this year, but
yeah,
I think it's just so funny that happened 2 years in a row.
Man, it's just so funny. All right, this is the part where we get to talk about a little bit more about movies in depth here with these couple of questions. This question I usually ask a lot of people. So, what is the best movie you've seen? Like, I know a lot of people say, I don't have a best. It's like, because it's hard for cinema to perfect it, but there's some people are different. So, what is the movie that you think is like perfect, best, when it comes to editing, cinematography, animation, maybe if it's an anime movie, if it's a live action movie, the elements of it. So, that's the first part.
I think, gosh, that's such a hard question.
It is. It is. It usually is a hard question, but.
And I will say, art and movies, it's all a very subjective thing. So nobody take my opinion too harshly. This is strictly what I think. It doesn't have to be what you think. But I think the two, and keep in mind this is me being an animator, I think the two that come the closest are either Toy Story 3 or Spirited Away. But I have to give more points to Spirited Away because Toy Story 3 is dependent upon our pre-existing relationship with these characters. And though that movie was beautifully made, perfectly done, and just gets you right here in the soul, it is something that is built upon by two previous movies and our relationship with the characters, especially for us millennials, because we grew up with Andy. We grew up with these toys in our lives, and so kind of like Harry Potter, we have a special connection with these characters, and that made Toy Story 3 that much more meaningful to us. So on that aspect, I do have to say probably Spirited Away would come closer to being perfect because it relies on a completely original concept, and heck, I mean, it's a completely Japanese movie. Like, it utilizes Japanese culture and Japanese folklore and just everything Japanese that a layman American would not understand, and yet you can watch it and still be like, this is magical. Like, this, I am so invested in this character, in this little girl, and she changes so much and she finds so much strength in this whole process. And I really think that's probably one of the closest to being a perfect movie I've ever come across. I also really like The King's Speech, as far as, live action is concerned. I really, really like The King's Speech because not only is that one very, very well made and just, easily gets you invested in Albert, in Birdie, it's rewatchable. Like, I come back to that movie all the time just because I love the story so much and I love the characters so much. And it's a relatively inoffensive, apolitical type movie. And it just zeroes in on, it's not what this guy is saying, it's the fact that he is saying it. And I think that's a very unique perspective, especially in a historical way. And again, I come back to the fact that you can go back and watch that movie over and over and over again, just love it. Because there are brilliant movies out there like Schindler's List and The Godfather that I don't need to watch again. Watched it, I understand it, brilliant movie, but hey, you want to watch The Godfather? Can we watch Spirited Away? That kind of thing. I think replayability is a hugely underestimated thing, and it's really hard to it's a concept that people haven't really nailed down. Like, what gives a movie or a YouTube video replayability? And you can't like write that into the script. It just kind of happens. So it's just a concept that we're constantly chasing. So I think the King's Speech probably definitely accomplished that.
Huh.
So yeah.
Cool. So do you watch a lot of anime then?
I've watched a handful of anime. I try so hard to find time to watch anime, but I get so caught up in work. But the last anime that I started binge watching was Food Wars, because I got the anime box. I had Loot Crate sponsor me, and they sent me their Loot anime box, and hey, that URL is still working. lootcrate.com/letmeexplain. Plug that right there. But they sent me a box and it was food themed, and I was like, what is this Food Wars thing? And I looked it up, and the apron that they sent me is worn by a guy who frequently wears it with no clothes on. So I'm like, I'll look into this one. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a little weird, but anime is frequently weird. But what I love about anime is the fact that Japan respects anime as a medium and not a genre. That's something that we have a hard time in America getting over, is that animation is strictly a family-friendly genre, and us in the animation industry, we're bouncing up and down and saying, no, it's a medium, it's not a genre, it can tell any type of story. And they've already figured that out over in Japan. I mean, like, anime has been used to tell horror stories, mystery stories, sci-fi stories, crime shows, romantic comedies. All these different types of stories can be told with animation, and I'm very respectful of the fact that Japan has figured that out. And America, we haven't. So I think we're getting a little bit closer. Every little tiny step we take to more creative freedom for animation, like Sausage Party and whatnot, that's another victory for us. So that's what I like about Japan, though.
Yeah, we get Sausage Party. Going up that ladder, starting with Seth Rogen's adult party cartoon. Dear God. Oh, it's like, what the hell did I watch?
To be honest, I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, man.
I know I need to, but I haven't seen it yet.
Have you seen a lot of the animated movies from last year?
Gosh, remind me all of them. It was like Zootopia, Kubo and the Two Strings. What else was there?
Moana came out.
Oh yeah, Moana. Yeah, I saw that one too.
Okay. God, there was like the Angry Birds movie.
Oh yeah, I saw that one too. That was on Netflix, and I watched that for lunch one day at the office.
Yeah, there's some other ones in between, like that's like Ratchet and Clank. There's Sing.
Sing is so interesting to me because it's either you really, really hated it, or you liked it. Like, oh yeah, it was cute, it's wonderful, I liked it. But I have a really weird relationship with jukebox musicals because I almost consider it in a way cheating, because jukebox musicals kind of rely on an audience's pre-existing relationship. Again, it's that whole Toy Story thing, relying on pre-existing relationships with these songs. So of course, someone starts singing dream on, that gets you kind of riled up. So
yeah,
but in the sense of, why not like make an original soundtrack? I think it's a little less cheating if you make an original soundtrack with completely new songs and whatnot, versus depending upon our relationship with songs already. And I don't say that's a wrong thing to do because it's enjoyable nonetheless. But I just think it's a little bit of cheating creatively.
Yeah, with oh god, jukebox musicals. God, I just remind myself of all these jukebox musicals I've seen over the years, and like Rock of Ages pops in my head. And it's like no,
I
no.
I saw that in Vegas with Joey Fatone as one of the characters, and that was kind of the more thrilling thing of when he like ran through the aisles at the end. Spoiler alert, but Joey Fatone of NSYNC because hey yo, that was my generation.
I mean, oh man, I would love to see like the live version of it because the movie just blah. But it's interesting too because you sing on the side as well. You love to sing, and you have a beautiful singing voice.
Thank you. I'm an opera singer actually. So
Oh,
yeah.
it's so you watch a lot of musicals then?
I have seen a lot of musicals. I haven't been to the theater in a long time, and I know I should, but I really do enjoy musicals. That was the initial dream. Like before I decided, hey, I'm gonna be an animator, the initial dream was, hey, I want to be in theater. I want to be in musicals. I want to be on Broadway. And so I've spent my entire life in the theater. And I will say that any animator or any filmmaker or anybody doing anything creative would benefit from spending some time in the theater, would benefit from being in a show, whether it's you're acting or you're doing sets and props or whatnot, because so much of the arts that we enjoy come back to the theater. And going through this boot camp of putting yourself on a stage in front of a live audience and bearing your soul out there and showing everyone who you are and what you can do, if you can do that, then you got a leg up across the board. I will always be grateful for my time spent in the theater because it gave me an edge over a lot of people in the animation industry. It made me that much stronger of a storyteller. So that would be one bit of advice that I would give to a lot of people who really want to push themselves artistically. Go do a show. There's lots of community theaters in your area, I'm sure, so just go out and do a show. It's a lot of fun. You learn a lot.
Well sounded advice. The movie musical that I'm going to strongly suggest to you that came out last year, but now it's having a wider release this year, is La La Land.
Yeah, everyone keeps talking about that one. I do want to see it. I just haven't had the time to go out and do it. But I hear wonderful things about it. I heard it like won a lot of Golden Globes.
Yes, a lot.
So...
Oh, yeah, I just saw it recently and it is just thank you, God. Thank you. It's a love letter to musicals. It's a love letter.
That sounds great.
It's so original. It's not a jukebox musical. It's so original. Yeah.
Well, then I'll have to see it. I will have to see it then.
You will enjoy it for sure.
Awesome.
Now we have to wrap around to some bad ones. What movies have you seen, either animation or live action, do you think is like the worst?
Okay, so when I was in animation school, my roommate and best friend to this day, her name's Beatrice, B for short, and one of her greatest hobbies, like her greatest passions, was to find the worst movies out there and buy them and just add them to her collection. And we would sit at night, we'd be eating like ramen noodles at night, and we'd be watching these awful movies and just be laughing and picking them apart and saying, oh, if they did this, it would have been a better movie. And so I have seen a lot of bad movies. And just for the sheer fact that it's fun to watch bad movies sometimes. You know, the concept of it's so bad, it's good.
Yep.
But I think, like, I've seen The Room, which...
Yes!
And I just can't get over anything Tommy Wiseau does in that movie. But again, that's the whole so bad it's good thing. I have seen B movie. I've seen it once, and the hilarious thing about that is I was actually mentored in college by the director of that movie, Steve Hickner. His name is Steve Hickner, but here's the thing. I don't think he had a lot of creative control over that movie. I think it was really pushed and pulled around by the writers and Jerry Seinfeld himself.
Probably, yeah.
And he's a very calm, quiet, jolly little fellow who is just very willing to help and kind of has imposter syndrome like we all do. But he's kind of like Glenn Keane in the sense of he is so willing to help and so willing to mentor. Like, he would spend his vacations coming to our school every year to help the seniors. And so he helped me do my senior thesis film, Bottled Opera. And he went through the animatic and all the storyboards, and then we had like 5 minutes left over in my session, and we just started talking about opera and American Idol and whatnot. And he was like the co-director of Prince of Egypt, which is probably, now that I think about it, maybe I should add that to the list of like some of the best animated movies I've ever seen, because Prince of Egypt is rock solid, and he was the co-director on that. So he knows what he's doing. It's just sometimes you get dealt a bad project, and you get put in projects that are with people who your personality doesn't mesh with, and you don't know how to control them because they're all just a bunch of divas. So I don't fault him for that, but I do think B-Movie was pretty awful. And it rightfully is quite the internet meme.
I was just gonna ask about that, because it's like, really? An internet meme now? I swear, internet.
Yeah. But I really, like, the one movie that Beatrice brought home that she forced us to watch that I just wish it would just end was Spooky Buddies, which was one of those Air Bud movies. It was the Halloween. It was the Halloween version of those, Air Bud trilogies, straight to DVD crap, and it was only an hour and a half, but it felt like it lasted 3 hours. And spoiler alert here, they end up killing the villain by one of the puppies farting on it. And I was just like, could this please end now? Please. But there are so many awful movies out there because, the wrong types of people get the funding and whatnot. But hey, that's just how it goes.
I swear, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just so many movies get, some are good, some are bad, and people love to watch bad movies just for the fun of it, but there's just, like, some really bad ones out there. Actually, one of the animated films that came out last year that's considered the worst ever right now is Norm of the North.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that one, but yeah, it was just kind of one that I was just like, exactly. I don't really want to waste my time on this.
Exactly.
I could be watching anime right now.
Yes, that's a good choice. Rob Schneider is a polar bear.
Rob Schneider is a stapler. Yeah, speaking of those boys, we call them the bad boys of animation. Matt Stone and Trey Parker, the South Park guys. We had an entire lesson on them in history of animation, so they've made their mark on the animation world, trust me.
Oh, yeah, just so many. Kind of want to pick your brain about, like, animated shows in general, because movies are one thing, but animated shows is another type, and what animated shows do you like?
The most recent one that I was just on the edge of my seat waiting for the episodes to come out was Gravity Falls. Like, Alex Hirsch and his team did a fantastic job on that show. And I mean, it had everything from a great visual style to great pacing and wonderfully hilarious and endearing characters, and just this perfect balance between all these characters, and just this perfect balance of humor and heart. And that's such a great thing to accomplish when you can recognize these characters as having depth and history and hopes and dreams and an ultimate driving goal, and they work so their interconnections with all the other characters just work so well, and that's so hard to accomplish sometimes in TV animation because of the time limit. But they pulled it off so well, and they gave us something that I didn't know I wanted, but I want it. And that's the best thing, is when you can come up with an idea that you don't know if the audience is going to want it, but they end up wanting it, because that means you've come up with something new and creative and original, and you're not just rehashing, how we had, like, after Twilight, we just had nothing but, like, paranormal romances, and it's just like, let's do something different now, shall we? So he came up with a great idea. Steven Universe, I wish I had more time to watch that one. I want to just sit down and binge watch the entire series, because from what I have seen in that series, it is remarkably in-depth. It is remarkably full of heart and history with these characters, and it's one of those shows that you really just have to watch like a normal TV show. Like, there's history and there's continuity with these characters, so you can't just jump into the middle of the series and know what's going on. And again, I think that is a good sign for animation in general, is because, I think even Craig McCracken talked about this on Wander Over Yonder, where he was wanting to make a series that had continuity, but Disney wanted a series where you can just kind of jump in the middle and know what's going on, kind of like a SpongeBob or a Fairly Odd Parents kind of thing. And they really wanted to make a continuity-driven show. And the more we get a chance to make those types of shows, the better for our art form, and the more opportunities we will get, and the more funding we will get. Because that's the ultimate thing, is convincing those executives, yeah, this is where you need to put your money. This is going to be worth so much. But there you go.
Yes, the Disney's, the Nickelodeons, the Cartoon Network, Sony, and now Netflix, actually. They're putting out some good animation, actually.
Yeah, I've heard the Little Prince is something I really, really need to watch. But I just need to carve out that time to watch it.
Yeah, Little Prince, Matt was actually telling me about that. It's okay at most, so, but
Okay.
the main one that I'm thinking about is Voltron, Legendary Defender.
Voltron Legendary Defender. I don't think I've heard of that one.
It's on Netflix right now, and so this show is a reboot of the 80s anime of the same name. It is the same team who animated the Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra.
Oh, nice.
So
very nice.
So the animation is beautiful with them behind it, and it's got a mix between 2D and 3D animation. The 3D animation more like for the robot lion and all the robot. So season 1's out already. Season 2 is coming actually in 5 days on the 20th. So it is a great action kind of show. You can't just jump into a random episode. You got to binge watch it from start to finish. It's got continuity in it.
Right.
It's a great sci-fi kind of action show. You'll get into the characters in it are just they're so funny to watch. There's a couple of characters if you watch it, there'd be worth watching for, maybe. But I love Voltron. It's really cool.
Well, I'll look into that one.
You kind of picked at this a little bit, but what other advice could you give to somebody who's interested in making kind of videos or animation in general?
Just do it. Just jump in, get your hands dirty, crack open a mediocre animation software and just start getting into it. Just start making things, because unless you actually start doing it and practicing, then you're never going to start and you're never going to get any better. So, and a lot of people will dream of doing these things and dream of making their own videos and being on YouTube and making their own animations, and they'll just be so scared of just starting. Like, oh, what if people don't like it? You know, what if I'll never get any, but what if I'm not any good? Well, of course you're not going to be any good. It's your first time. So really, the best advice that I have for someone who is like thinking about starting is just start. Just start making stuff. And you have to have that drive and that energy to push yourself to be better. Because, I mean, unless you go to school and you have like a grade hanging over your head, if you're going to be doing this outside of a school, then you need to constantly push yourself. Okay, that last one was okay, but I want to make it better. And you got to seek out that information online. There's like lots of tutorials online. There's lots of how-to videos. I mean, I learned how to operate Flash in the span of a week because of online tutorial videos on YouTube. And so even me, post animation school, can gain so much from our online experience, and it's all free information. So I would just say just kind of find motivation and find discipline, and if you really really want to do it, then it'll be the most fun you've ever had, and you'll just want to continue to make more. And also, you may learn that you may not like it and you have to move on to something else, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I would just say do it. Just jump in and do it.
Do you think education is the most important thing to get into a field of choice?
If we're talking about, like, do you think you have a better shot of, like, getting into the animation industry if you've had an education or not?
Probably.
That has been a debate for a long time. And even people are like, well, you can go to school, but if you don't go to Cal Arts, then you're not going to get anywhere, because across the board, the people with all the shows on TV and the movies and whatnot, they're all Cal Arts grads. And that's because, you know, that used to be the singular place to get animation students across the board, because animation was such a niche industry. And so now you're just starting to get these other schools that are like upping their game, like Ringling and whatnot, and SCAD is doing really great stuff too. And so really, it's not necessarily where you go, but what you can do. And a lot of the times a recruiter won't even care what school you went to. They just want to look at your portfolio and see like strong drawing and really interesting and unique concepts and ideas and well-executed storyboards and animation. They want to look at your portfolio and your reel and see that you know what you're doing. And whether you got there via an animation school or on your own, sometimes that's just, they don't care. Now, I will say there are some recruiters out there who kind of view your school as like an insurance policy, especially when you're going for like entry-level positions. So like they're like, okay, this person went to Ringling College of Art and Design. They know what they're doing. They went through the ropes. I think I'll hire this person versus this person who didn't even go to school. So it really just depends on where you're applying, but I have met so many people in the industry who are self-taught, and they're just amazing. So it really depends on you and what ways you learn better, because I really needed the school structure. I really needed someone hanging a grade over my head to kind of learn that work ethic, you know? And that's another part of school, is it teaches you more than just the skills. It teaches you to be disciplined. It teaches you to, you know, present yourself in front of a class and present yourself to your superiors. And those are things that you can't learn on your own. And so there's a lot more to animation college and animation school than just the ink and paint of it.
Yeah, because that's just debatable, and whether you want to get an education on, especially depending on your field. Because I'm in college to get my communication degree because I want to be on the radio, so it's just a little stepping stone just to get into the business, you know. So it's just hard to get all that education you need to get a decent job in life, not just flipping burgers at your local McDonald's, for crying out loud. So do you want to become a animator on a movie or a TV show?
That's a question I ask myself a lot, because I know that there is a lot that I could gain from spending some time in a studio. I mean, that's where you really, really learn your stuff, is actually being in a studio environment and learning from the people around you and learning from your superiors and just being forced to work at full capacity and even beyond your full capacity at all times. And it teaches you to get really good really quick. So, animation school is not the only place where you would learn how to be an animator. You immediately start picking up skills and knowledge in technology and softwares from just being out there in the industry and working at these places that have access to all of that, and people around you who are like, well, this is good, but why don't we do this? And you just slowly learn to like push yourself a little bit harder from being surrounded by people who are just, better at you than a lot of things, and sometimes you're better than them, and they learn from you. And so I do recognize that there is a lot I could learn from a studio life, but there's one thing that studio people and studio animators and whatnot, there's this holy grail that everybody in the animation industry and the creative industries are looking for, and that is creative freedom. And you don't get a lot of creative freedom when you work in a studio. You are constantly working on somebody else's idea. You are working on a story that was approved 10 times over by the higher ups, and you're being told what to do by directors and supervisors and whatnot. And you can, push things, like say, you're in charge of character design. You can push things here and there, but if it stars a woman, you can't say, well, I want to make it a man, that kind of thing. So what YouTube and what the online world offers a lot of artists now is not having to answer to anybody but the audience. Because when you work at a studio, you're answering to your director, you're answering to your supervisor, you're answering to the executives, and then once it's all said and done, you answer to the audience. But I don't answer to anybody but you guys, my audience. And cutting out that middleman and getting to put your own ideas out there, that's that holy grail. That's that ultimate treasure that everybody in the creative industries is seeking. Like, maybe one day I'll be a director and I won't have to answer to anybody, and I'll put this idea out there, and I only have to answer to the executives and they can greenlight it and I get some creative freedom. But even still, you're still answering to executive producers who are like, I don't like that character, get rid of it. Even though they don't know what they're doing creatively because they're executive producers and they're not artists. So that has been the constant struggle, at least for artists and producers, ever since the days of Max Fleischer and Walt Disney. That's always been the struggle, and that will always be the struggle. So it's kind of just this immense freedom that you experience online when you can just make something and push upload. So would I one day want to spend some time in a studio? Probably. Would I stay very long in a studio? I don't know, because I have experienced creative freedom, and it tastes very sweet.
How did you meet Danebo?
Wow. So Danebo, he was... Okay, so back in 2006, when I first discovered YouTube, in the baby stages of YouTube, and nobody really understood the concept of a YouTuber, it didn't exist. I found Danebo before The Annoying Orange, when he was doing all of these really cheap special effects things and hack videos that were very, very trolly. He did a battery hack video. It's you take, I forget what volt it is, but it's this big around, and you open it up and there's nothing but double A's in there, and people were posting videos of this is not true, he lied to us. I thought that was so funny, and I just kept looking into him, and I just really loved his sense of humor and whatnot. And so he was really the first YouTuber that I ever started following before anybody had any idea what a YouTuber was. And so I just kind of for years, I'm just kind of off and on looking at YouTube, not really caring too much about it, getting really involved in my animation work. And the summer the summer before my senior year of animation school, I kind of rediscovered YouTube and realized, okay, wait a sec. There's this thing called being a YouTuber. And I got really into Smosh and Rhett and Link and Danebo and the Annoying Orange. And I was just like, wow, these guys are making a living doing all of this. And by far, Dane was my absolute favorite because I would watch his vlogs and I would be like, I could be friends with this dude. This is the type of guy that I would be friends with. So I rediscovered Twitter, and so one day I just made like a dumb little pencil fan art, and I posted it, tagged Danebo in it, not knowing how Twitter worked entirely, and he retweeted it, and I'm like, huh, that was cool. I wonder if I could do it again. So I just started making, every now and then, I would just, make fan art of one of his videos, of Annoying Orange, and just post it to him. And that was especially therapeutic during my senior year of animation school because, oh my gosh, it's nothing but negativity. They have 10 minutes to tell you what you're doing wrong on your senior thesis, and then they have to move on to the next person. So he kind of became this outlet of, someone actually likes what I do and I like them. Like, I really look up to them as a creator. So we just kind of got to know each other through my fan art posted on Twitter. And he finally followed me and really started getting, interested in what I was doing in school, and he wanted to see my demo reel. And just slowly but surely, we just started building a friendship. And we met for the first time at my first VidCon. And he took me to dinner, and I got to eat dinner with him and his guys, and it was just, friendship, just building a relationship. So, and ever since then, we've just been buds.
It's just
and
like...
now I'm a pineapple, and a mistletoe, and a strawberry, and recently a hot potato. So,
it's just like,
on Annoying Orange. It's great.
Every now and again, I was like, Rebecca Parham's Annoying Orange. Okay, I'll watch that.
That episode. Yeah. It's kind of like, I recognize that the Annoying Orange is not made for me. It's not made for my age group. But it's... Just because, Blue's Clues was not made for me doesn't mean I can't recognize that it means a lot to some people,
Exactly. I could just never get into the show, but whenever there's a guest, it's like, Rebecca Parham, okay, I'll just watch that just one time or a couple of times.
Well, I sound so comatose compared to, like, Dane and Kevin and Bobby, who are, like, all the other characters, and they're just, like, wacky, zany, we've been doing this forever, so we have this down. And I'm just like, I'm trying my best to be the character. And I need to bump it up. And I even texted Dane, I was like, I'm sorry, I sound like I'm in a coma compared to you guys. And he's like, no, you did great, you did great. He's very, very, very nice. I mean, you won't find someone nice like Dane online.
Okay.
So.
Because you always talk about him in your recaps, and I'm just like, oh, buddy. Buddies,
yeah.
Have you seen the Markiplier video when he did fan art for his favorite YouTubers and sent them through Twitter?
I didn't see that one yet. I started it and I got involved in something else, but yeah, I saw that he did that, but I just never finished the video.
I just thought it was like, oh, he started drawing. He's just like bad at drawing, but it's just like, oh, give him some heart for actually trying fan art for the first time.
All right.
God, how does the process of being on a Annoying Orange episode, like, I know there's certain things you got to do, like the eyes, the mouth, and just what does Dane what does Dane ask you to do?
So the first time he asked me to do one, they send over a packet. It's like, it's a PDF with a whole bunch of pages, and it shows you essentially how to do what they need you to do. And I mean, they'll send a script, and they sent the packet, and it's basically, they needed just for one time, they needed like like a 3/4 shot of the eye, and you need to like just kind of be neutral pose, wide-eyed like you're scared, kind of an angry brow kind of thing, like a squint, and then just, you know, just kind of sitting there, a couple blanks, look to the side, look to this side, and, you know, just enough footage for them to kind of play around with the eye expressions. And then what they need is a full frontal, perfectly still, like keeping your head perfectly still in the frame with a dot, like a tracker dot on your nose, with a mic here, because I got a mic like right here.
Mm-hmm.
You got a mic right here, and you got a camera right in your face, and you got to keep your head perfectly still, and you gotta do all these crazy voices, and have all of this, you know, like if you're being really, really annoyed by Orange, you gotta have like a lot of over the top, you know, expression in your voice and in your mouth, but you gotta keep your head incredibly still. And it's a lot harder than you think. It is so much harder than you think. I give props to Dane and the guys all the time.
God. Yeah, I keep watching, it's like, whoa, a lot of work behind that. Would you like to be a actress?
Well, I wouldn't mind being an actress. I wouldn't mind doing a lot of creative work. I mean, I wouldn't mind being a voice actress, which I do sometimes. I've done a lot of like the phone systems and the presentations, like the corporate presentations, like Inatech is the highest quality something or other in the industry. You know, that kind of thing. Or like, thank you for calling Joshua Management. My name is Rebecca. You know, that kind of thing. But I wouldn't mind being like a voice actress. I wouldn't mind being a stage actress. But as long as I can eventually come back to animation, because I think that's the end all for me. Is like I have a lot of passions out there, but animation is the final thing that I want to come back to at all times.
I think should be it
Okay.
for the questions. Any final words before I wrap this up?
I would just say to everybody out there, just never stop being a student. Just absolutely, that's the one bit of advice that all of my teachers gave me in school, and what all the professionals will tell you. Never stop being a student. Never stagnate when it comes to the software that you can learn and the artistic tricks that you can pick up, and always push yourself to be better. So that I would just continue to try and absorb as much information as you can, and go out there and experience the world, because that's where you get your material. Go out, say yes to a couple people saying, hey, you want to go and do this thing. Instead of staying home and watching anime, go out and do it. Go out and have fun, because that is where you get your ideas, is by going out and experiencing the world.
Do you have any upcoming work or projects you're working on right now you want to tease to anybody?
I am working on the latest animation, story driven, like the story of my life animations. It is about Disney World, because I have a lot of Disney World stories, but it's one of those Disney World stories, and it actually happened recently. But I think that's all I can give you without giving away the entire plot. So it's going to be about me and something that happened to me at Disney World.
There we go. A little tease for those viewers out there. Thank you, Rebecca, for chatting with me.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. So people, please subscribe to Rebecca Parham. She's amazing. I will link her YouTube and all her stuff so you can follow her on social media.
And anybody who is coming to this because I shared the video, please subscribe to Mike Mixtape. He is awesome. He is super knowledgeable, and he's a lot of fun to watch.
That is it for Cinema Talk. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
driving